Álvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca, the saga of the explorer of peace. The story of the name Cabeza de Vaca dates back to the year 1212, during the famous Battle of Las Navas de Tolosa. In this decisive battle for the Reconquista of the Iberian Peninsula, a shepherd named Martín Alhaja guided the Christian army of King Alfonso VIII of Castile to a strategic point, marking the path with a cow's skull. His help was essential to the victory, and, as a reward, Alfonso VIII granted Alhaja's family a noble title, and he adopted the name Cabeza de Vaca, meaning head of the cow, a name that would be immortalized in their family coat of arms. Years later, a descendant of this lineage would inherit more than just a name. He would inherit a determination to explore uncharted territories and face colossal challenges. That descendant was Álvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca. Álvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca was born between 1488 and 1492 in Jerez de la Frontera, Andalusia. As a member of a noble family, he had access to education and grew up in the royal court, where he learned the principles of war and the arts. Inspired by the stories of his grandfather, Pedro de Vera, a conqueror and governor of the island of Gran Canaria, young Álvar dreamed of forging his own path of bravery. Over the years, he would become not only an explorer, but also a symbol of hope and peace in a Europe still grappling with the New World. The New World. Journey with Pánfilo de Narváez. In 1527, Cabeza de Vaca answered the call of the New World, joining an expedition led by Pánfilo de Narváez, with a mission to explore and conquer lands in Florida. At that time, it was believed that this territory was rich in gold and resources. The expedition left Sanlúcar de Barrameda with 5 ships and over 600 men, including priests and officials. Cabeza de Vaca served as treasurer and a high-ranking officer, responsible for managing resources on behalf of the king. But the mission, which promised conquest and riches, quickly turned into a disaster. Fate dealt a cruel blow. After landing on the coast of Florida, Narváez, showing poor judgment, ordered the ships to search for a harbor, while he led the group inland, without interpreters, maps, or local guides. The hope of finding cities of gold quickly evaporated in the face of swamps, dense forests, and constant attacks from the native inhabitants. As hunger grew each day, the survivors were forced to sacrifice their horses for food. In a final bid for survival, they constructed makeshift boats and set out to sea, only to be hit by another storm. Only a small group, including Cabeza de Vaca, survived the wreck and reached shore. Captivity among the natives. Now, a small, isolated group along the coast of what is now Louisiana, the survivors were captured by the native people and subjected to 8 long years of slavery. Cabeza de Vaca, along with Andrés Dorantes, Alonso del Castillo, and Estebanico, a black enslaved man from Morocco who would become the first African to set foot in the Americas, endured forced labor and inhumane conditions. The natives imposed a harsh life upon them, where even minor acts of defiance could result in death. But during this captivity, a singular event changed Cabeza de Vaca's life. Amid the hardships and suffering, he managed to heal a gravely ill native, which transformed his status among the locals. Cabeza de Vaca became revered as a sacred healer, a living legend among the indigenous tribes. This newfound status allowed him and his 3 companions to gain their freedom, and thus began one of the most epic journeys in human history. The March with 5,000 Natives. From a sacred healer, Cabeza de Vaca became a mythical figure. Over a journey of 5,000 miles, he traversed the present-day territories of Alabama, Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico, accompanied by a multitude of up to 5,000 indigenous people. Along this route, he became the first European to see the Grand Canyon, a natural wonder that left him awestruck. He was also the first to encounter American bison, even joining the natives in hunting some. He spread the idea that peace between Europeans and indigenous people was indeed possible. Realizing that force was not the only way to earn the respect of the native populations, dialogue and compassion were far more effective. In 1536, Cabeza de Vaca and his companions finally arrived in Mexico City, where they reunited with fellow Spaniards. Their reception was mixed. While they were celebrated as survivors of an epic journey, they also bore witness to the harsh reality of the Spanish conquest and oppression of native people, as Tenochtitlan had already fallen and been subjugated. Upon returning to Spain, Cabeza de Vaca was granted an audience with King Charles V, where he recounted his journey. He sought the position of governor of Florida, but the role had already been given to Hernando de Soto a few months earlier. This setback, however, did not dissuade him. His horizons remained wide open. On his way back to Spain, Cabeza de Vaca stopped in the Azores, where he encountered Gonzalo da Costa, a survivor from another expedition who described the situation in Buenos Aires. Gonzalo recounted how the Carindi people had attacked the settlement and mentioned the disappearance of Pero de Mendoza, the region's governor. This meeting opened up a new opportunity for Cabeza de Vaca, who decided to petition for the governorship of the Rio de la Plata, with the aim of restoring Buenos Aires. Return to the New World. In 1540, Cabeza de Vaca embarked on his second expedition to the New World, this time with a charter confirming him as the governor of the Rio de la Plata. Upon reaching the island of Santa Catarina, he learned that survivors from Buenos Aires had founded Asunción, future capital of Paraguay, in 1539, a city previously unknown to Spain. To reach Asunción, he followed the legendary Payabiru Trail, crossing southern Brazil, navigating up the Itapocu River, and advancing through the Serra Geral. Cabeza de Vaca became the first European to see the breathtaking Iguazu Falls, a landmark both geographical and historical. When he finally arrived in Asunción, Cabeza de Vaca found a society under the oppressive rule of Juan de Ayolas and Domingo de Irala, who exploited and enslaved the native population for their own benefit, treating them like animals and taking numerous indigenous women as concubines, a true hell on earth. Cabeza de Vaca sought to implement a policy of peace, outlawing slavery and respecting the rights of the Guarani people. But this stance did not sit well with the local leaders, and a conspiracy against him soon took shape. The conspiracy. In 1545, Juan de Ayolas and Domingo de Irala orchestrated a plot against Cabeza de Vaca. They seized him while he slept and used falsified documents and false witnesses to accuse him of mismanagement. He was taken captive and sent back through the Payabiru Trail to the island of Santa Catarina, from where he was shipped to Seville to stand trial in a legal process that lasted for years. In 1551, he was formally stripped of his governorship and sentenced to exile in Oran, Algeria. Meanwhile, Ayolas and Irala continued their tyrannical and abusive rule over Asunción. The mysterious end of Cabeza de Vaca. The final fate of Cabeza de Vaca remains shrouded in mystery. Some records suggest he spent his last days in Seville or in a convent, but nothing is conclusive. His legacy, however, lives on in his work Naufragios y Comentarios, where he documented his vision of the New World and his belief in peaceful coexistence with native peoples. Cabeza de Vaca was one of the few conquistadors who understood that dialogue and empathy could be powerful tools for fostering relations with the native populations. a vision that, unfortunately, was never realized as he had hoped. Cabeza de Vaca could have revolutionized colonial history in the Americas. His vision of conquest based on respect and peace offered an alternative path, one that was more humane and just. Instead of a history marked by violence and oppression, the Americas could have seen cooperation and understanding. Sadly, this vision was eclipsed by those who chose the path of exploitation. I hope this story has shown that not everyone simply wanted to enslave the native people of the New World. There were those who valued and respected different cultures, and even though they faced injustices, their stories can serve as a lesson for us to avoid repeating those wrongs in the future. Remember, a people that does not know its history is doomed to repeat it. Subscribe to the channel and like our videos to keep your curiosity alive. Stay curious.